He didn't follow me. He waited ahead. This happened 2 summers ago, on a solo drive across the Southwest. I'd been on the road since morning, heading through long stretches of desert with no real towns, just gas stations that looked abandoned until you saw the flickering "open" sign. Around 4 p.m., I pulled into one of those nowhere stops, a squat concrete box with 2 dusty pumps and a convenience store that looked like it sold more dust than food. I needed gas and water, that's all. That's when I noticed the silver van. It was parked near the ice machine, a good 20 feet from the pumps. Engine off, driver still inside. He was staring straight ahead, but as I stepped out of my car, he turned slowly, like he'd been waiting for me to get there, and locked eyes with me. I looked away immediately. Not because he looked threatening, just too still, too intentional. Inside the store, I grabbed a bottle of water and a snack. When I got in line, I realized he'd come in too. No drink, no food, just standing by the back wall. Then I heard it. A voice behind me, quiet, direct. "Yeah, he's here now." I turned slightly. The man with the van had a phone in his hand, but he wasn't talking anymore. He was just looking at me. I paid in cash. The cashier didn't even look up. I asked if their card reader was working. She just shook her head. "Not for you." I didn't know what that meant. I didn't ask. I got out fast. But when I pulled out onto the highway again, I didn't see his van behind me. I figured he stayed at the station. 20 minutes later, I saw it in my rear view. No headlights, no tailgating. Just cruising up behind me, like it had always been there. Then it passed me. It passed on a straightaway. No other cars for miles. The van didn't speed or swerve, just pulled ahead, smooth and quiet. I remember checking the plate, or trying to. There wasn't one. I sped up to see more. Tinted windows, slight dent in the back left door. No bumper stickers, no logo, nothing. Just silver. After a few minutes, it picked up speed and disappeared ahead. I thought that was the end of it, but 30 minutes later, I stopped at a rest pull-off to check my phone signal. As I opened my maps, I saw headlights in the rear view. Same van, same speed, same dead silence. It passed again. I started getting paranoid. I pulled over and checked my doors. As I did, I noticed something that made my stomach drop. There was a muddy smudge on the passenger door handle. Desert highways don't have mud. Not in August. Now I knew something was wrong. I hadn't passed it. I hadn't taken a wrong turn. There were no exits. How did it get behind me? I tried to rationalize. Maybe there's a parallel road. Maybe he turned off, then came back. But I'd been checking the road obsessively. The van kept doing it. 3 times. 4. Every time. The same pattern. I wouldn't see it for miles. Then it would appear behind me, then pass, then vanish. The 4th time, I tried something. I pulled off onto a service road near a wind farm. Waited 5 minutes. No van. I turned back onto the highway, and less than a mile later, it passed again. That time it slowed down beside me. Not enough to force me off. Just enough so we were side by side for maybe 10 seconds. I glanced over. The driver was wearing sunglasses and a hat. But I recognized the shape of his face. Same man from the gas station. Same look. Not anger. Not joy. Just like he knew me. And then I heard it. Through my window. Through his. His lips didn't move. But I heard his voice like it was inside the car. "Next time, take the other turn." I floored it. Tried to get away. Took the next off-ramp. A side road marked only by a faded green sign with no town listed. Drove 10 miles in silence. Desert to the left, fencing to the right. Nothing else. Then my fuel light came on. I checked my phone. No signal. GPS frozen. Just before panic kicked in, I saw a sign for another gas stop. I pulled in, old station, red signage, no one around. Except one vehicle, a silver van. But this time, the door was open, and no one was inside. I stepped closer, slowly, and peeked inside. Empty cabin, dusty floor. One thing on the dash, a digital clock. It read 4:32 p.m. Same time I arrived at the first gas station. I didn't wait. I didn't get gas. I turned around and drove until I saw other cars. But every time I stop on long stretches now, to rest, eat, or fuel up, I scan for silver. And last month, at a roadside restroom 300 miles away, I saw something that made my knees lock. A line of black marker on the door, in neat capital letters. You passed the test. For now. Since then, I never lock eyes at gas stations. I don't engage. I don't linger. And if I see a vehicle more than twice in one day, I don't wait to see it a third. I could see his headlights behind me for miles, but he was never in my mirrors. I was driving back from a weekend cabin trip. It was late, later than I wanted, and I had to cross a mountain range before I could hit the main interstate. The road was pitch black. No streetlights, no guardrails, just steep curves and the kind of quiet that feels like something's listening. About 30 minutes in, I noticed headlights behind me. A motorcycle. He wasn't tailgating, but he was close. Real close. I figured he wanted to pass, so I waved him around. He didn't. Just stayed locked behind me, maybe 30 feet back. But when I checked the mirrors, rear view and both sides, I couldn't see him. Just the light. I adjusted the mirror, leaned, even tilted the rear view. Nothing. Only when I looked over my shoulder, turned fully around, did I see the silhouette. Tall helmet, black jacket, no plate. I slowed down, hoping he'd pass. He didn't. Instead, he dropped farther back, just enough so the light faded behind a curve, then sped up again. Close, then faded. Over and over, like he was playing a game. I gripped the wheel so hard I felt my nails dig into my palm. After a while, I started getting this weird feeling, not just that he was following me, but that he was trying to stay out of the mirrors, like he knew exactly where to ride to avoid them. I tried catching his reflection in roadside signs or windows of parked trucks I passed. Nothing. Only when I looked fully over my shoulder, exposed, could I confirm he was still there. I tapped the mirror. Nothing. I even checked the rearview housing. It wasn't cracked. I checked again. Still no biker. I whispered, "Please pass me." He didn't. I started wondering if I'd hit my head earlier. Maybe I was imagining it. Maybe the mirrors were dirty or warped. I rolled down the window, stuck my phone out, and tried to take a photo behind me. The image came out blurred. Just light, no shape. I even tried turning off my headlights for a moment, thinking maybe I could catch a glimpse of him better that way. But the second I did, I felt the road vanish under me. I turned them back on instantly. When the lights returned, I checked my mirrors again. Still nothing. Then came the tunnel. It was narrow and unlit, carved through the mountain. As I entered, I instinctively looked in the mirror. Nothing. But the light didn't go away. It grew brighter. Inside the tunnel, it filled the car with this cold, white glow. And then, silence. No engine sound. Just my tires. I looked again. The light was still there. But this time, it wasn't from behind. It was beside me. I turned, and through the passenger window, in the pitch-black tunnel, I saw the biker, riding perfectly parallel. Only, the wheels weren't moving. He was gliding, like on glass. I looked forward again, and almost swerved. I drifted near the wall. When I looked back out the passenger side, he was gone. There wasn't even a shadow. Then I noticed my rearview mirror had shifted. On its own, angled just slightly upward. I reached for it, and it snapped back to the center. I kept driving, breath tight, hands shaking. I watched the walls of the tunnel blur past like I was moving too fast, or they were moving around me. Then I hit something. A bump. Not big, but enough to rattle the car. I stopped, opened the door. Nothing in the road. No debris, no animal, just blacktop. But on the side of the car, a long, thin scratch ran from the back wheel to the passenger door. I floored it, came out of the tunnel too fast, skidded, corrected. The light behind me was gone. For the next 20 minutes, I didn't see another car. I turned on the radio, static, checked my phone, frozen clock. 9:41 p.m. It had been 9:41 p.m. when I entered the tunnel. Then, as I came around a wide curve, I saw something on the shoulder. A motorcycle. Upright, engine off, no one around. But the seat was still warm when I passed it, and hanging from the handlebar was a cracked side mirror. The mirror was cracked, and the brake lines curved outward, like pressure came from inside. Next to it, barely visible in the dust on the gas tank, were finger marks, 4 long smudges, like someone had gripped it hard. I never figured out who he was. All I know is, every time I drive mountain roads now, I check every mirror. Constantly. And sometimes, when I see headlights, I don't look. Because if he's not in my mirrors, I don't want to know where he is. And if I do see him, I'm not sure he'll still be behind me. And if he isn't, I don't know where he's moved to. Since that night, I trust the mirrors less than my instincts. If I feel something's too close, I don't wait to check. And I never, ever assume I'm the only one on the road. Sometimes, what you don't see is exactly what's watching. And sometimes, what isn't in the mirror is already inside the car. She asked for help at sunset. By nightfall, she'd already been reported missing. I was on my way back from visiting family, heading west through a long stretch of flatland, the kind of place where exits are 20 miles apart and the radio only picks up gospel or static. It was early evening, golden hour, and I'd been driving for almost 5 hours straight. I needed a bathroom and a leg stretch, so when I saw a blue service sign for a rest stop, I pulled off. There was one other car there, a white sedan with its hazard lights on, parked near the edge of the lot. A woman stood beside it, holding a red plastic gas can. She looked like she'd been there a while. Mid-30s, long hair tied back, jeans, dusty boots. As I walked toward the restroom, she gave me a polite smile and said, "Hey, sorry. Could I ask for a weird favor?" She said her car had run out of gas just after she pulled in, and her phone was dead. She asked if I could drive her to the next station, just 5 miles up the road. She wasn't pushy. She smiled a lot, made small talk, joked about the heat. Everything about her felt normal. I told her sure, as long as we were quick. She thanked me 3 times, said her name, asked mine. I hesitated for a second. Behind me was nothing but empty fields. Ahead, an open road. She smiled. and I'm still not sure why I unlocked the door. But when we got in my car, and I started driving, she didn't point the way. She didn't give directions at all. I figured maybe she just didn't know the exact exit. I asked, "Which station?" She shrugged. "Whichever one's open." Okay. We passed a sign that said gas, 2 miles, and I mentioned it. She didn't respond. Instead, she asked me where I was headed, whether I lived nearby, if I always traveled alone. Her tone was casual, but something about the questions felt logged. I tried again. "Do you need anything else from your car?" "No," she said. "I've got everything I need." That's when I noticed. The gas can, she was still holding it on her lap, was completely clean. No dirt. No wear. Like it had never touched the ground. Her grip on it was oddly tight, like she was afraid I'd take it from her. She kept looking straight ahead. No side glances, no checking her phone. Just fixed forward, like she knew exactly how long this ride was supposed to take. We passed a closed diner on the left. Lights off, sign flickering. As we did, I saw her eyes flick to the window, just once, then back to the road. Then something odd happened. A faint click behind me. I glanced over. She wasn't wearing a seatbelt, but the sound had come from her side. Seconds later, the radio made a short burst of static, and then a voice, my voice, said the words I'd just spoken. "Which station?" I shut the radio off. At the gas station, I pulled in by the pump. She didn't move. I said, "We're here." She looked at the station, then back at me, and said, "Do you mind going inside first? I just want to check something." She said it with a kind of urgency, like whatever it was, it had to happen now. I left the engine running and went in. The guy at the counter glanced past me and froze. He said, "Where'd you pick her up?" I told him. His face went blank. Then he pulled out his phone, showed me a photo. Same woman, same clothes. Missing since yesterday. She asked someone else for help, he said quietly. They never found him. Another customer walked into the store, saw my car through the window, and turned right around. Didn't say a word. I asked the cashier why. He just stared and said, "They don't usually get this far." I turned around, heart racing, and saw my car door wide open, empty. I ran out. She was gone. Gas can still on the seat. The passenger door was ajar, as if she hadn't even tried to close it. We called the sheriff. He came, took a statement, said others had reported seeing her, always around dusk, always at rest stops. Sometimes she asked for a ride. Sometimes she just smiled. One guy said she knocked on his window, didn't speak, just held the can. Nobody ever saw her get dropped off. Nobody ever saw her walk away. A week later, I passed the same rest stop. The white sedan was still there. No hazard lights. Just dust on the windshield and a single boot print near the driver's door. Someone had written in the dust, "Don't trust the can." And when I looked closer, the driver's door was missing its inner handle. Below the car, something red glinted in the sunlight, a scraped fragment of plastic worn down at the edges. And on the windshield, 4 long finger smudges trailing down toward the glass. Since then, I don't stop at rest areas after dark. If someone needs help, I offer to call for them. That's it. But every now and then, I wonder, what if I hadn't gone inside? What if I'd just kept driving? What if she hadn't left? And what happens to the ones who don't stop at all,